Yeah.
I'm just waiting for the Christmas cards next year.
You're not getting one.
Hose.
We should do an hose. we should do an ASOS Christmas card next year.
ASOS Christmas card?
Yeah, we should go to the mall. We should go to the mall and find a Santa.
That'd be dope as shit. Like, you could crucify Christ.
Just hold up a crucifix.
3, 2, 1. Welcome back to All Sorts of Sports, episode 44. Who wore number 44?
The John Riggins episode. There is no one else. Riggo, baby, the Diesel.
Cool. Right,
Fire
so
that Diesel.
We just did a reflection of Christmas. What was your best gift, Kadeem? Only one gift.
The Do the Right Thing poster.
Okay, Ryan, you?
I haven't gotten any of my gifts yet.
Okay, hold on. Wait, what?
I've been stuck in the basement. How am I supposed to exchange presents?
They can throw this shit down to you.
That's not in the Christmas spirit. I figure we just wait till tomorrow.
Is he gonna go get his favorite gift?
I'm about to show you my best gift.
Yep.
Well, besides the hat, my brother bought me a box of Panini Contenders.
Oh, nice.
Hobby box. Got that one. One of these is worth like $60, which is nice.
My favorite Panini is a Cuban.
I do like a Cuban Panini.
I got
Jason.
Yep. That one's numbered.
Panera Bread has a good Panini.
This one was nice.
Steak and white cheddar.
Yeah, I do like a good. I like a good pressed
and
sandwich.
King Wong.
Pressed sandwiches are the best kind of sandwich. It gets the right crisp. And
I meant to send it to you, Ryan, because I forgot who was actually good.
Nice,
two of these
melty cheese.
Yeah.
Two of these were on card.
Melted cheese with like the crispness. Have you watched that movie? What is it? Is it Chef?
Oh, Chef makes everything.
Oh, yeah.
There's also
somebody bought this, but then they haven't paid for it yet.
Have you ever seen a Goofy movie?
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
The cheese in the pizza on a Goofy movie is orgasmic looking. Okay,
it just pulls for like 4 days.
Is that in Mutant Ninja Turtles make pizza look fucking dope as shit?
Yeah.
How did we start talking about food?
You said something about paninis.
Oh, wow. All right.
What does the hat say? Raiders, I'm assuming.
Yeah. It's the Las Vegas Raiders, and then they got my name on it, too.
Nice.
Oh, so you never have to lose your hat.
I did get prime rib yesterday, so that's it was the best meal of the year every year. Fucking love prime rib.
All right. So some stuff happened on Christmas. There was a football game. I don't want to discuss the Lakers-Mavs game because that one's tough to bear in a house full of Laker fans.
Hey, it's game 2, dude. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
and
no Porzingis.
No Porzingis it's so hard for one like it's LeBron and AD. It's right now it's just Luka. So
right.
As
you
soon
saw
as
Luka going against the number 1 and number 2 best players in the NBA.
No, it's not. No, they're not. All right. So Alvin Kamara yesterday had 6 touchdowns.
Tied the record.
I mean,
I am so glad I played them last week.
In fairness, he should have had 7. There was a drive where they got down to like the 2, and then they called a timeout. And I think Kamara was like trying to get on the field, and the coach was like, "No." They put somebody else in to get the touchdown, and then he got a 6th touchdown later in the game anyway. But
That's crazy.
And for argument's sake, he could have had 7. He could have broken the record, set in like 1929. Fun fact: the guy who got 6 touchdowns also gave up 2 home runs to Babe Ruth. Now you know.
Wow, that is a pretty fun fact. Those when athletes were athletes and played more than one thing. Like the Sammy Boss.
The Sammy Boss. But what a wild game. We got a wild game going on right now too.
Well, I think if you're looking at Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara, arguably, you can make the case that either one of them might be the best running back in the league. I don't necessarily, but I still think McCaffrey's number one. I actually still put Saquon number two, but that's just me. But I'm saying with Dalvin's health, because there were a couple of runs, Dalvin was looking like, all right, well, shit, this might be like going back and forth sort of thing,
especially in the beginning.
Yeah, and then but all of a sudden,
I don't like how they use Dalvin though.
I have a problem with a lot of what Minnesota does on offense, period. And I think that what they realize is just how important Stephon Diggs was to what it is that makes that offense work. And
Jefferson is pretty good.
But can you imagine Jefferson, Diggs, and Thielen on the same fucking team with Dalvin Cook in the backfield? Jesus Christ.
Who do you put instead of worrying about your best corner, now you need 3 best corners.
And if you have Thielen doing what he's best at doing, which is working out of the slot, like that to me would have been just. Look, regardless of whatever you think about Kirk Cousins, if you put enough weapons and everything around him, he's going to make everybody shine, at least to a certain degree.
Did y'all see the soundbite from last week? When
Jefferson,
fuck Kirk, fuck him up.
I mean,
he's channeling it Stephon Diggs.
You can see it in Buffalo because Cole Beasley doesn't have a route that he's running all hot routes. He just finds a spot. And if he's open, he's going to get the ball because there's so many other weapons. Like Stephon Diggs is 90 yards down the field. He's so damn fast.
It's the biggest help you can give a quarterback, especially a quarterback that struggles throwing the ball down the field. Like when you have what New England did for the last 2 decades with Tom, what Bruce Arians kind of refusing to do in Tampa Bay with Tom, is to give him that out. And especially that's what Aaron Rodgers does really, really well, is you see him calling a lot of the audibles. It's usually for the receiver in the slot, letting them know like, hey, it's coming to you and it's coming to you fast. Just make a break, find something open. I don't think enough teams utilize that slot receiver role properly.
Yeah, I mean, but you'd have to have the other weapons for the slot receiver to work.
Case in point, New York, even though Gase fucking sucks at everything, you got Jamison Crowder, who in my opinion is a top 5 slot receiver in the league. And because there is no real other threat on that offense right now, it's not anything that any of the quarterbacks can do about it.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. Also, just breaking, the Browns are delaying their flight to New Jersey, and their game against the New York Jets because they have positive COVID tests. So multiple. They're working. At least one is confirmed. It's left tackle Jedrick Wills.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
But I mean, if you got starting linemen and starting defensemen, they're usually pretty close in contact to each other. So
kind of like how the Lions had issues this week too, where
they have
all their coaches are gone.
They have nobody.
Yeah, no coaches. Like the wide receiver coach is the head coach. Stafford's out too?
Stafford got knocked out in the first.
Oh shit!
And Tom Brady just threw his 5th touchdown.
To who?
The Gronk.
Okay.
But I'm interested to see how that works because the Browns I think they clinch a playoff berth if they win against the Jets.
AFC North is dicey as shit with what it is that they're jogging Pittsburgh on the downturn. And you got Browns. Cleveland kind of trending upward.
And so with Baltimore.
Cleveland doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I've been on this. I'm a huge Baker Mayfield fan, like a giant Baker Mayfield fan. I don't know what it is about the offense is clicking right now compared to when they had Odell on the field. Like to me, I still am of the idea that I get Chubb. Chubb is you have a backfield with Chubb and Hunt. Come on. But there's but what they've done on offense as far as Baker throwing the football, it doesn't make sense to me as far as like Njoku and Odell. Like the fact that they're even doing more without Odell there in the offense is just weird to me. I don't know.
And Chubb came back.
And their defense has stepped up. Their defense is playing so much better in the last 4 weeks than they were the first 4 for sure.
I like Cleveland a lot. I still don't think they can compete with like Kansas City in the AFC when it comes to the playoff time. I just think it's going to be hard for anybody to compete with Kansas City.
No, they can.
I think Baker has a lot more confidence
Kansas City's beatable
now than he did in the first like 5 or 6 weeks. If you see the passes he's throwing, he had a wide open tight end in the front of the end zone, and he decided to just throw it to the back of the end zone in a window that was about this big, and it was a perfect throw for a touchdown to Jarvis. Like, if he's got that kind of confidence, I mean, they can play against anybody because they have a defense.
If Cleveland wins the Super Bowl, I think that's good for the league, period. Like, I look at Cleveland, I look at Buffalo. You got to root for those organizations just as a whole.
Because they've been sad sacks of shit for like decades.
There's still no sadder NFL stretch than the 4 Super Bowls in a row for New England or for Buffalo in the beginning of the 90s.
One of them
insane.
to the Redskins or the Washington football team.
Goddamn right. Scott fucking Norwood wide right and shit.
All right, so we were just discussing the Cleveland Browns and their COVID issues and a little bit about the Lions and their COVID problems. Let's give an update on the COVID man himself of the hour, James Harden.
That's okay. So, as I understand it, James Harden is cleared to play. However, John Wall, hold on, I had a list here somewhere. DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall, Eric Gordon, and Mason Jones are not cleared to play because they're still in quarantine.
I thought it was 6 players.
I think as of today, it's 4.
Okay, so 2 got off.
But they have enough to play a game.
Mm-hmm.
They have enough to field players to play a game, which they didn't have.
I'm tired of James Harden.
For their last game. You
heard about what happened in the practice, right?
No.
He threw the ball at the player?
He threw the ball at the player, and apparently it was just a screaming match.
Yeah, that happens.
What's happening right now is if I'm a player on the Houston Rockets, I'm going to legitimately say if James Harden can throw a sissy fit about this, that, and the other, I'm refusing to play with the man. Because at this particular point in time, he didn't give a fuck about his teammates at all. Look, there's but so much you want to do if you want to get out of a situation to now put your people at risk because you've been stupid. Risk of potentially like serious harm to your career or death by being careless about
family
COVID.
Too.
It's stupid as shit, and he deserves the. Nobody should want to play with the man. He was being careless as shit, and the fact that he thought it was
should catch a fade every practice. To be honest with you,
the legitimate thing that he thought that he was being some sort of saint by it not being a strip club, even though he was in a close quarters with everybody else. You're a fucking moron, man.
To support my friend who's being a boss and doing her business and helping people. Oh my God.
It's so hypocritical to say, "Oh, I was out here supporting such and such, my friend," but your people that you're in the trenches with, playing basketball with, to potentially ruin their season, their careers, their health, lives. The health of their family. It's like, where's the balance? Where's the balance here? It just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. He's being self-serving as shit.
Yeah, self-serving and hypocritical. And I'm getting real. I can see now. Where's he gonna go? Who wants him at this point?
Well, like when you have like a superstar player, I'll give you an example of it, like Westbrook, right? Where you follow this player through their career, like just because they're at every All-Star game, like winning the MVP or something like that. Kind of like also how Peyton Manning was. And they get towards the end of their career and you're like, all right, I want to see them win the championship. I don't feel that way with James Harden.
I think the tide has changed for everybody on Harden recently. I think anybody that was a Harden fan, at least liked him on a personal level, that's sort of gone away. And I've kept going back to all those points. You can't blame the Houston organization because they did everything they could for him. They were actually
you can blame them for one part.
You can blame them for getting him as comfortable as he was to be able to do.
You got too much power.
But that's the thing is that you get look. If you're a superstar in the league, it goes without saying you're going to have certain benefits that go to you because you're a star.
But
there are only five players on the floor for your team at any particular point in time. If you're a great one, there are certain things that are going to run your way. That being said, it depends on how you utilize that power. With great power comes great responsibility. Thank you, Uncle Ben. The aspect of that is what do you do with that power? You can be a guy like LeBron who tries to bring in as much. I'm going to be here in the trenches here with you guys. I don't need preferential treatment. This is how the entire team's going to rock. Or you can be a Harden that says, I want to be able to come to practice late and skip and do this, that, and the other. You even have other aspects of it like Kawhi, where you have Kawhi says, look, I moved to California. I want to live in San Diego. It's going to take me longer to do my commute. There's a certain aspect of that I still have an issue with, but it's nowhere close to the line of what James Harden looks like he's doing.
Yeah. So fuck him.
Yeah, for real. Like, I really just hope he goes to some. I hope he's in Oklahoma City by himself. Like,
I hope they put him. I hope the NBA creates a suspension list for people who break protocol consistently, and he sits on that list, doesn't get paid, and just waste there.
What's the most boring place in America?
North Dakota.
So here's what we need to have happen.
There's talking about expansion team.
We need
North
an
Dakota.
expansion Fargo team and send James Harden's bitch ass there to go play in the snow. Like, that's what you need. You need an expansion team. You need him to go somewhere where he just loses his fucking mind.
All right, but wait. This brings up a good
send him to Cleveland.
That I want to discuss.
Cleveland's kind of cool.
I hate Cleveland.
There has been talk in regards to an expansion teams.
They have to do it.
Yeah, and there's two places that I think are the best places, and I want to hear y'all opinion. So the first place, Seattle.
Easily.
Number one, Seattle. Number two, the second place, Vegas. What do you guys think?
I still think that, look, the Golden Knights were a bit of a surprise as far as how well they tended to wear, but but the thing is that
first year
they're also were so successful early on that it's sort of it's a mirage.
Well, no, you remember like when a team first gets there, there's going to be ample support, and it just so happens that the Knights were actually good too. Right. And then it's like, oh yeah,
but that's not usually what happens in NFL or NBA.
Yeah, that's because of the way the NHL does their expansion draft is you can only protect so many players on your team, so the teams really have to think about who they're protecting. Mm-hmm. And the NHL is very deep in terms of talent. So if you get the fourth best defender or the fourth best center on take your pick of all the NHL teams, you're going to put together a very fucking solid team. And it just turns out that they had very good coaching and a very good cast of players, and they went to the Stanley Cup. I don't believe they won.
They lost to some team. What was the name of that team?
The Washington Capitals.
But the thing with Vegas right now, where I say that I pump the brakes on them getting an NBA team, is that right now with COVID being in the first year that Vegas goes out there, the Raiders go out there and I want to see what the attendance level is like, because there was always kind of the knock on Vegas. Vegas is a very transient town in the sense of everybody thinks of Vegas as just this destination spot where you got a lot of tourists coming in. Maybe they want to go catch a game. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is that, especially in the suburbs of Vegas, is how big the population is of people that actually reside there. But I still don't know what their preconceived notion when it comes to sports are. So if I'm looking at NBA, Seattle to me is top of the list because I've never thought that they should have deserved to lose a team. If I'm looking for
who deserves, just won too, right?
Right. If I'm looking for the second team, I wouldn't do Vancouver. It's too close to Seattle. Plus, it's whatever. I would like the idea of Canada getting a second team again, but I don't think it's a priority. I actually wouldn't mind another Texas team. I think that Austin could have a team.
No, they should not have three teams.
They're a huge state, and they don't have attendance.
That's my only thing with them is that I don't see it as
where would it be?
Austin.
Ooh.
No.
I feel like Louisville would be a good spot for him too.
Hell no.
That's another thing is that I think that what you could also look at is an area that's really known for college basketball.
Yeah.
And seeing what it is you could translate over from that.
No.
I don't know. I don't know where you put the second team. I mean, shit, you could throw a third team in New York. I wouldn't want that, but I think it's doable.
That wouldn't make sense either.
But here's another thing you got to realize. The entire thing with the expansion thing in the dig, the reason the NBA is looking to do the expansion is they need more revenue because of the revenue that's missing out for them not having the games right now. So you're also looking at is cities that are able to fork over enough money to make this a legitimate thing. So you're looking at quality TV markets. You don't want to go anywhere that's going to be too small. So there's a certain element if you have a market that's still big enough to support more than one team to do it. I think there's only two cities in America that can support three teams, and you're talking about LA and New York. I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility. But I'm hard pressed to find out who the second team would be. In all honesty, if you put a team in Seattle, Oklahoma City was always a nice pick.
If you put
basically another Texas team,
and I will say that if they were to say, okay, one in the U.S. and one in Canada, dude, Canadians go crazy for their sports. Like the Raptors were bad for a long time, and they sold out. Like they've had those fans that have been there every single day. So I mean, it might be good.
Here's my only point. What is the entertainment capital of the world?
New York.
New York.
Vegas.
No, but that's for people coming in. It's not for the people that live there. Like I've been to Vegas so many times. I've never gone to see a Knights game unless they were playing the Caps.
How many times have you been to since Vegas since the Knights have been there? Like they just got there. What are you talking about?
Look, in all honesty,
Probably
Vegas is not
4
look,
or 5.
Really?
on
Yeah,
paper.
Wait, really?
On paper to me,
It's
Vegas
2015, 2016.
No. I thought they got. When did they get there?
Who are we talking about?
3-4 years ago now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Look,
I thought they got there like. I thought they got to the Stanley Cup final like their first year.
Yeah, that was like 3-4 years ago.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
3 years.
Y'all won the Stanley Cup in 2017.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, looking at
Shit.
this, I'm trying to think about where I was. It was 2017 and 2018, but whatever. The Vegas on paper, I think, makes the second most sense as far as NBA, as far as cities go after Seattle. But I'm more excited about some other stuff. Like I'd love Mexico City to get a team.
2018.
2017, 2018, yeah.
So I like the idea of like a Mexico City getting a team. They definitely have the television market. They definitely have the population, and I like to see how basketball would do in Mexico.
I could be cool with that. Does it go to a vote? I forget how it works.
I believe so. That would make the
Does
most
it go
sense.
does it go to a vote for the owners?
The owners, I believe so. That makes the
Okay.
most sense. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they want whatever. Like, if there's a team in Mexico City, that may make more people south of the border watch more NBA, which brings more revenue to all the owners. So I would say they probably, if that was a viable option, that's not a bad idea.
I also think Nashville is not a terrible choice. Neither would Kansas City.
Ooh, yeah, Kansas
All
City.
these places are not nowhere near as enticing as Los
But I wanna-
Angeles, in my
I think
opinion.
getting Vegas all the major sports teams to me is a legitimate goal.
Yeah, but
That's why it's so,
I want to.
what,
No, I get what
like,
you're saying.
the only one that well,
I'm so, like I said,
Baseball.
on paper, I get all that. I'm still wanting to see a big portion of what I wanted to see was what the Raiders attendance level in Vegas was going to
Yeah.
be.
And
I haven't
I
seen
mean,
it yet.
we
We
gotta
haven't
wait till
seen it
next
yet.
year for that.
But I also think the Vegas thing when it comes to the Raiders is also a bit of an anomaly because of the fact that so many
So
people
close.
in Los Angeles that were Raiders fans can still make the drive
the
out
Bay
there and it's
Area
not a
too.
problem. So it's like so I think Vegas is very special and unique for that particular organization. But if they succeeded in having like sold out games in week out,
Well, let
Right.
me ask you this question then. I mean, but you also gotta remember, like, they got a world-class stadium now too, so it's different from what it was in Oakland. But my question to you now is, Ryan and Kadeem, what has the attendance been for the Knights?
but the attendance for the Knights have been good. But that's what I'm saying is that
Well,
the
before,
Knights
before they won.
they weren't around long. They were winning. That's the point.
That was first year they went to the Stanley Cup.
And
First
if you
year,
won the
year
Stanley
one.
Cup, they were high in the standings. They were winning. It was fun to go.
Mm-hmm.
If I knew that, like, it's the same reason, like, when the Wizards suck, you can buy tickets for $10 in DC. Most people don't want to go to a fucking Wizards game. The same way that
It's
Charlotte,
different in Oakland.
I'd never
in
want to.
Vegas.
I'd never want to go to a game, watch the Bobcats for years. Like, it's not. That's the thing, and you got to realize that when you have an expansion NBA team, most likely you're gonna suck ass for a little bit. Because it's not a move. It's not like the Supersonics that went to Oklahoma City and then they had success. It was an established product that moved there. It is what it is. If you're talking about an expansion team,
When's the last time they had an expansion team in the NBA?
I think you're looking at Toronto in the 90s.
Yeah.
No, Charlotte. Sorry, the Bobcats. No, they moved.
They moved to New Orleans.
Yeah, they moved. I think it might be Toronto.
And you have to go into a market that's excited to get the team and understands they're not going to be good.
And they were and then they were kind of forgotten until Vince Carter came early in their and he was just one of the most exciting players to get. So while they didn't win a ton of games, at least early on, Vince Carter was just
He was jumping over. He was jumping over people.
Right. And I'm sorry, there's few people that bring that sort of spectacle like a Vince Carter does.
Half man, half amazing.
Because Vince Carter was one of those guys where even if he was coming to DC to see a game, I'm like, I want to go see Vince Carter. It's one of those games that you circle on the away games. It's like, if this guy's coming to town, I want to see him. Those guys are few and far between.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right. So that's pretty much it for this episode. Just
I mean,
joking.
it's good.
We do have a special interview Can I put it right here?
This would be the point to do it, so you should intro the.
Shit.
You nailed it.
I'll take care of this one for you, buddy. So we're doing a new segment on the ASOS podcast. We're floating around what the name itself is going to be, but it's basically going to be the ASOS guest spot. So right now, I had an old friend. You'll learn more about him as we go along. James is hosting that like he does everything else. Although James needs a little more prep when it comes to introing these things. But we right now we'll play the segment, and after we do the segment, we'll come back and do final thoughts. So enjoy our first guest spot segment.
Welcome back to our first guest spot, the ASOS guest spot. Guess what we'll call it. Well, mine, because I was thinking. Shut up. All right. So the first person we have is Brendan.
This piece of shit.
Hello,
yeah.
everybody.
So first, before we start, let's discuss the relationship between you guys. Oh, look at you. I heard that.
I've had the unfortunate, pleasure, I guess, of knowing Kadeen since we were 11.
Ooh.
Sounds about right.
And then he started dating my sister like 6 months ago. What a fucking asshole.
Love you,
baby. So we known each other for 20 years. It swoops in on my sister.
Yeah, I love you.
In the middle of quarantine, taking advantage of loneliness and all the other mental health shit. What a piece of shit. Yeah. This is how he betrays 20 years of friendship.
Oh. Any retort, Kadeen, or are you just going to leave it as what it is?
Before we technically started dating, I went to your house and asked for your consent. As far as everything. Not to mention, the first time we ever talked about anybody dating anybody's sister was back in high school when you literally told me you did not give a fuck.
He's told me that too.
Did you hear it? So I don't want to hear your bullshit. Because I still did the respectful thing and came to you firsthand to make sure it never interrupted our friendship. Don't say that.
Yeah, well, that's all true. Still gonna give you shit about it. Still gonna make you feel bad about it. Still gonna get all your ass about it. Doesn't matter.
Fair enough. Fine. Let's do this just so I can rip him a new asshole.
All right. Well, I think the thing that you guys were debating about, and we figured we'd bring it to the pod, is the fact is tanking good or is tanking bad?
So
Good
that was
one.
the thing. Hold on, hang on one second. So to set this up, last weekend after the Jets won the game, their first game this season, Brendan hits me up and is like, the Jets blew it, the Jets blew it, the Jets blew it. And he's saying that they blew it in the sense of the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. Now, I personally have said on the pod more than once that I think Sam Darnold is absolutely the truth, but Adam Gase is a piece of shit. So under my philosophy, I don't think that they blew anything because I don't think Trevor Lawrence is their answer. I think you want to get out of that position. But what our conversation then went to was a bigger scheme of whether or not tanking is a legitimate option to do things in sports. And I run very counter to any, because look, I might not be an athlete, but I believe in the athletes and I believe in being competitive when it comes to these sports. And tanking is not a legitimate option. Anybody that does try to do it, it never really works out for you.
Okay. First, let's be very clear on what define tanking. It's important. Tanking is deliberately lowering your odds of winning in order to gain draft capital with the intention of winning in future years. Now, the gaining draft capital is important because you're not tanking when you rest your starters at the end of the season going into the playoffs. There, you're deliberately lowering your chance of winning, but it's to keep everyone healthy for the postseason. So define tanking, first of all. Second of all, it is a legitimate strategy. It doesn't always work. Just like some strategies, you can implement it well or you can implement it poorly. And it doesn't happen very often in the NFL. But fucking baseball and basketball, that shit happens all the time, and it can work. Now, do the management technically usually get fired when they implement it? Sure, because the owners are like, oh, I need to get this team on the road. Even though I agreed to 3 years of sucking, I don't really like it. The fans are angry. Ticket sales are down. Sack the assholes who brought it in and let the new GM and coach reap the benefits of the old ones, sucking for 3 years, and especially if they were not making good draft picks. So,
see, that's the thing that I have an issue with, is that you're saying that it works under certain circumstances. I'm telling you, if you go over history, it's harder to find when you have a team that's actually tanking compared to a team that just fucking sucks. Then you have a situation where even if you were to say, okay, tanking is a legitimate option. I challenge you to go over through history and to see how much they actually got out of doing it. The biggest thing that you could probably say over the last 10 years, and let me break this down also. When it comes to the tanking aspect, I think in the NFL, it's a moot point, because unless you're talking about a franchise quarterback at number one overall, there's not enough that you're going to be able to get through one draft or two drafts that's going to change the entire course of the organization. The number two, even if we're talking about the tanking for the franchise quarterbacks, name me the last time that tanking for a franchise quarterback has actually gotten somebody a Super Bowl. It hasn't happened. The number two would be that if you're talking about any league that does do it, the easiest one to do it would be the NBA, because there's only 5 guys to play, and if you get a generational talent like a LeBron or an MJ or something like that, he could change the entire fortune of the team. But even if you're looking at that, Philadelphia is probably the best example that you have of anybody trusting the process as far as what it is they did to put themselves in a position to win. And they still haven't won shit, and Ben Simmons might be on his way out of Philadelphia. Henke, the one who manufactured the entire thing, is out on his ass. So what I'm saying is that where does it
out
work?
Of Philadelphia for nothing. He's not leaving in free agency.
For James Harden to come and bring COVID and fucking strip clubs to the entire organization. Great job.
Who knows if it'll work out, but they're not losing.
But they haven't won. So my thing is that, like, there's if you
but
get
they went from an irrelevant franchise to always in the playoffs.
They were not an irrelevant franchise. They went from a franchise that had Allen Iverson to a franchise that had.
Well, I didn't retire. He got traded, and then
he got traded to Denver. Then he came back to end his career. But when he came back to end his career, you had a team that overall had done pretty poorly. But they also knew that there's a vacuum a lot of times when your star and the guy who you build around is gone. So Philadelphia had to go through years of suffering, the same way almost every organization does, except for the ones that are truly special. And that rarely in the NBA, maybe you look at some of the powerhouses like LA or Boston that are usually
LA
had bad years too.
But everybody has a bad season. So my thing is, like, if you're talking about people perennially being in the conversation, you really don't have that many people. Maybe you're looking at in the NFL, New England, but I classify them as as the greatest dynasty of all time. But it's like, even if you're going to go through the situation of tanking, to me, if your front office is ever in a position to actually think about tanking, is the moment you just lost your job. You know why you lost your job? Because you're banking on making sure that draft pick works out, which is never a guarantee. Even if you look at Philadelphia, the trust the process thing, they pick up Michael Carter Williams, when they could have had Giannis Antetokounmpo that came out afterwards, but they fucked up when it comes to the scouting. You have to have scouting, you have to have free agency, you have to have trading.
And
what was
Fultz
Giannis's
forgot
draft
how to
position?
shoot, but no one could have guessed that Fultz actually forgets how to shoot.
Giannis was like 14, and they drafted 11. Then Markelle Fultz also. I mean, everybody picked him as to be the great guy.
But he forgot how to shoot.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is that if you're in a position to tank, it means that your front office doesn't do enough due diligence to do the proper scouting to put yourself in the correct position, which is why it never really works out. Show me a championship.
If you're in a position to tank, something's gone horribly wrong. Let's not make this like you go into long-term strategy as like, we've got a good team. Let's tank. Tank means fucking shit's gone wrong.
What's horribly wrong is you that wants to tank. If you're in a position that you want to tank, you fucked
and your
up.
team was bad.
Yeah,
See,
you there's a new regime.
There's a difference between repositioning and rebuilding and tanking. Say, for instance, when you look at the Washington football team is done. Washington went through a decade of some of the worst free agent signings and put themselves through absolute salary cap hell to a position in which we were always just going to be mediocre. So as much as we were paying all the money for these athletes, you were never going to be in a position to actually build a team. If you pay $100 million to Albert Hainsworth, you need 2 corners and a linebacker, you're never going to be able to fulfill that need. So when you have guys like Ron Rivera and this new front office come in, after years and years of these terrible options, you have an offseason where Washington made no moves in free agency, even though we had 3rd most salary cap space. But the reason you don't tie that up is because of how many needs are on the roster. That's a rebuild. That's not tanking. We're still doing everything we can to win these games. You're not tanking for a draft position. What you're doing is you're saying we need to retool the way that we structured this roster. And that's different than tanking.
Important distinction. So all tankings are by definition rebuilds, but all rebuilds are not tanking. A rebuild, the crucial difference between that and a tank is a rebuild. You're not intentionally losing in order to improve your draft position. Now,
Right.
By intentionally losing, let me clarify. I mean, lowering your odds to win over the course of a season. I don't think coaches and players tank. That's bullshit. Maybe in the NBA occasionally when the coach comes out in the last 20 games of the season with some janky ass lineups. But I think it never happens in the NFL. Those coaches and players are beating their ass off every Sunday.
You have to.
Yeah.
But that's the crux of the thing. When you called me last week and told me that the Jets fucked up, is where I looked at you. I didn't look at you because I wasn't with you, but I told you on the phone that it's not a fuck up in any circumstances. Because there's another aspect of the tanking thing that you're not realizing, which is that losing begets losing. If you create a culture within an organization that is a bunch of losers, you will have losers.
Wait.
The
Let me come in.
culture.
Let me come in.
We don't
You
want
have
the
to
losing
try.
culture of
You
the
have
one
to
and
try.
No. All right. It's not like we're not saying that they haven't tried, but all right, here's my point. I just want to add my piece to it. All right. So the Jets, I feel like they fucked up in this aspect because let's say now they have the number 2 pick, right? Mm-hmm. The Jags have the number 1. The Jags pick Trevor Lawrence. Boo-ha. Like the Jets get whoever they need or trade out. Mm-hmm. But if they had the number 1 pick, they could have traded that for a lot more stuff.
Yes.
Because some team needs Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
See, this is where I call horseshit. Because whoever is number 1 is going to draft Trevor Lawrence.
Or trade the pick.
You're not trading the pick regardless of who it is you have. Listen to me. Listen to me.
All right, didn't the Rams do that to y'all?
What? The Rams did it. What was their quarterback situation? What it is that we were leveraging to give to him? And what also, if we're talking about that.
Sam Bradford, right?
But even if we are talking about that aspect of it, who did it work out for? Like, as far as I get it. So what you're saying is you're expecting another NFL franchise to leverage their entire future, like the dumbass Washington football team did, and leverage 6 years worth of stuff. It hasn't happened since the RG3 trade.
They do that.
It hasn't happened since 2012 with the RG3 trade.
It would have happened. It would have happened.
There's always morons in the NFL. Look what Chicago.
Yeah, the morons are you guys talking about tanking.
Look at Trubisky. Chicago gave up a shit ton to move up 1 pick.
Because their front office and their scouting sucks ass. Tanking.
So wait. So Kadeem, are you saying that every front office now is good?
No. That's why. There's
So some dumbass is gonna do it.
Yeah, you root for the team that would most likely do it. So what I'm saying right now is
you root for the team that most likely.
No, I had to get that in there, a little shot. Look, at the end of the day, what it comes down to is if you decide that you're going to put yourself in a position to tank, you are leveraging all your entire future basically on luck, which is what most of these front offices are doing. Is they have somebody that they believe is so damn good that they're mortgaging their entire future for one person. And when you do that is the moment you've lost because it doesn't work out.
It's not about that. It's about fucking odds. Your odds of getting good players go up or further in the draft order up you draft. You do this over consecutive seasons, such as the Phillies. The 2 best tankings instances of tanking, 2 most successful in modern history, and by that I mean last 20 years, are the Cubs and the Astros. They tanked like motherfuckers in the early 2010s, paid almost no money to any of their players whatsoever, actively sucked, and then got all that assets and draft capital.
It's bullshit, especially the Cubs. Because when you're talking about the Cubs in the early 2000s, you're going off of this logic that what the Cubs decided to do was draft a high prospect and suck again, then draft another high prospect and suck again. That's not what it worked. They just sucked. That's it. They just sucked.
They paid no one any money. They potentially
because they're rebuilding. It's a difference between the tanking and the rebuilding. Tanking is to deliberately lose to set yourself up to get the draft positions, as you said. It's a difference between if you just have no talent and you suck.
Those teams deliberately wanted to lose to improve their draft positions.
No, I think that's the onus that people like you try to give on it to make front offices look like they have some sort of plan when they don't.
They clearly had a plan.
They didn't have a plan.
They got rid of.
Here's the thing. There was no way in which you're going to draft a high level prospect and then decide you're going to do it over and over again 3 years in a row. Nobody's sticking around for that shit.
Both those teams traded away some of their prospects for proven players, so they turned those assets which they'd accumulated. It's about draft capital, right? You can trade away your draft pick if you don't think there's a player worth getting, or you have another team that superstar or good player doesn't fit their timeline, but it's about improving your draft capital to improve your odds of winning over the long term. It's worked in baseball. It's worked in basketball. Football's much harder because there's so many players on the field at once. And football, it's tough because in football, fans don't have the patience to lose multiple seasons.
Here's what you're not noticing. Is that you're saying tanking is a legitimate option. And what you've done is over the course of history, you've picked 2 opportunities in which you think it worked out. Whereas every other chance where somebody tries to do this shit, it doesn't work out for anybody. You're still a losing ass team. All your front offices end up getting fucking fired.
Strategy. And
What?
it's not a new strategy as in like it hasn't happened before, but it's new as being widely accepted. And part of that's
And in the NBA right now, with the way that they have the draft lottery, you can't do it. You can't even do it in the NBA anymore because of the draft
they're
lottery.
trying to make tanking illegitimate.
So
strategy.
this is what I'm saying is that so we already discussed that in basketball it was the one that's most likely to work because you have 5 players on your team. But now with the draft lottery, you're gonna fuck yourself over, a la New York Knicks. Then you also have in the NFL.
It always works.
In the NFL, I'm saying that if you're going to go off of the entire history of sports and say that it's a legitimate option, I then counter a more legitimate option is to just hire competent motherfuckers in your front office that know how to scout, know how to draft properly, know how to do free agency and trades. You have to use all of those methods in order to build a championship contender. It's the same thing that Kansas City did. It's the same thing that New England does year in and year out. You have to have all 3 facets. The moment that you get into a tanking mode is the moment you're going to lose your fucking job. And even if it does work out, which it most likely won't, you will not be part of that movement that actually hasn't worked. Because what'll end up happening is your person that comes after you is then going to leverage trades and free agency to actually put you in a situation that you could have been in years ago. Let's even look at Philly. When you're seeing in Philly when it was Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, what did they also have to do after Hanky lost? Bring in Jimmy Butler, bring in this guy, bring in that guy, which is what you had to do to build the team. Then the moment that Jimmy Butler left, all those picks that Hanky got, what did they do? Jack shit last year. And now they had to go and retool again to fire up for this year. Yeah, it's not a legitimate option.
Yeah, no, that's all bullshit. First of all, you can do all of those things at the same time. You can hire quality people. You can have good scouting, good player development, all that. And you can have a front office that is saying for the next 1, 2, 3 years.
If your front office is tanking, your front office is trash. Show me a situation in which it's not the case.
Very obviously. Miami tanked very obviously last year. Worked out well. They hired a good front office, good coach, developed the shit out of their players.
What was Tua? Where did Tua get drafted?
6 overall. Was it 6 or 5th?
One of those.
So what I'm saying is that he got drafted 6 overall. It's not like they were tanking for a number 1 guy. That wasn't a tank job. They fucking sucked.
They deliberately lowered their chances.
They had Ryan Fitzpatrick. They got rid of Ryan Tannehill because of the contract that Ryan Tannehill was going to command. Get it. Understood. And then they fucking sucked. They just sucked.
They traded their left tackle.
Laramie Tunsil and the
for what? For what?
Draft.
For draft picks.
Because with Ryan Tannehill and the team that they had, what was their record?
I don't know. They won like 4 games, didn't they?
They were shit.
Yes.
So if you're not winning with the squad you have to retool. It's not tanking. It's
no,
retooling.
Because some of those players were young and good. And on reasonable
James Howard, they kept him.
Yeah, on reasonable contracts. They got rid of those people because
which is where you have to retool. If all of your funds are tied up in 1 or 2 guys, you have to then leverage that to make more picks. You're also talking about an organization in Miami that does not have the sort of spending capital that you do when you have a Dallas or a Washington or a New York or a New England.
Fine. But they tanked like motherfuckers last season.
It's the same
reason you have spending capital.
It's because that's the thing. It's the same thing the Raiders run into when it comes to issues too. You have to have enough revenue coming in to pay these guys. The salary still works like every other budget of every other team. That's the same reason why Arizona went for so many years where they couldn't get anybody because they didn't have the money to. It's the same reason Tampa Bay couldn't go out and spend all the money because they couldn't do it.
There's a salary cap floor as well.
No, because if you look over but what is the discrepancy between the floor and the ceiling? It's huge. Yeah. So you had a lot of teams for decades that always stayed near the floor because there wasn't enough revenue coming in. And if you decide that you're going to tank, if you're going to continue to tank, guess what? You're also not going to increase your fucking revenue because no one's coming to see your games. I'm
talking about the cheap ass franchises that deliberately put together shit products, not because they want better draft picks, but because they're too cheap and they're just making money off the TV deals.
Bidwell,
That's not tanking. That's just scumbag owners trying to pad their own pockets by not putting together competitive teams. That happens in the MLB all the time, by the way. Those people are shitheads, the owners are, who just decide to put together a completely non-competitive roster, don't give a shit about the draft picks, don't give a shit about winning, and just make their money off the TV revenue. That's not tanking. That's just being an asshole, not wanting to spend any money. Tanking is just, it's as simple as intentionally lowering your odds to win in order to increase your draft capital, to improve your odds.
Give me the last NFL champion that tanked in order to get a championship.
NFL, I don't.
Give me the last NBA team that tanked to win a championship because they tanked.
Who tanked? Well,
Dean, how many NBA
Unintentional
champions have there been?
San Diego. The Spurs may have tanked to get Tim Duncan. No one
See,
knows.
that's where you go into that may have bullshit, and it's may have and it's bullshit. Because the same way that after you said the Tim Duncan thing is the same thing I looked up. There is no whatsoever
Would never
evidence that they tanked.
fired the head coach and trotted out.
The only guy that ever said that he was
lineup
intentionally tanking is James's favorite basketball team, which was Mark Cuban, and they fined his ass for it. But even when they fined him, the NBA went back and looked and saw over the course of the games after he said it, they literally said he won a lot. Like he couldn't have been tanking. So after that, but what they do, they fined him because he even mentioned it. There was no proof that he did it.
Yeah. He said the fact that go ahead.
Do you remember the old ESPN article, Art of the Tank, written by the anonymous GM basketball, not Sam Hinkie, in 2013, where he describes why he's putting together a roster intentionally losing?
It was an anonymous team source, right? So there's nothing to verify anything that he was doing anything correct?
Well, ESPN's not a fucking a random ass sports blog. They're going to verify that it's actually the GM.
James, how much do you like the ESPN Top 100 list?
Well, they're terrible.
Thank you. So what are you talking about?
But
so they had somebody that was too chicken shit. So there was somebody that was too chicken shit to say that this is what he was
ESPN
doing.
is a big organization.
Yeah, I know. Me and him have friends. We have a very good friend that works there. But it's at the end of the day. Right. So, but what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, you had somebody that was too chicken shit to put his name on anything. Then there's somebody that you can't even verify whether or not it worked.
You lose,
but you can't even verify whether or not it worked. Because if you're looking at any of those teams that were perennial losers for those years, who turned the corner?
Philly turned the corner.
I do want to say something.
You just said it wasn't Hinkie. You just said it wasn't Hinkie.
In regards to your
no, it wasn't, because he mentions that Philly's the other team he knows is tanking.
But here's the thing: other than Philly, and you said the article wasn't Hinkie, I'm showing you that it's somebody who wasn't successful in their endeavors.
No. The problem with that tanking is
it doesn't work.
No, you have to be good at tanking, and by that I don't mean losing as many games. I mean literally, you have to be able to properly scout and draft and evaluate players and develop players, which is tough. That's tough for any team.
But if you do that, you don't need to tank.
The problem is you've got yourself into a situation where you need to tank.
Because you sucked. Because you are. If you are in a situation where to do it, it's because you are shit as a front office. That's the point.
And then the old regime gets fired, and the new regime comes and looks like this wasteland of shit that they have and says, we ain't going to win shit with this roster. We need to rebuild, and the best way to rebuild is by getting rid of all the good players we have that cost too much money, intentionally lowering our odds to win games, and retooling with cheaper, younger players.
At the end of the day, I get what you're saying. I'm saying that what I'm saying is right, and you're wrong. That's it.
No, it's all bullshit. You can't. It is as long as the draft exists. As long as the draft exists, as long as you are rewarded for losing in the major sports leagues, I assume the same is the case in the NHL. I don't know anything about.
You talk about rewarding the teams that make the best moves as far as even drafting properly in the first round are the teams that do all of those things properly. Because there's so many other scenarios where you have somebody that tanks for a particular, even if it's in the aura of tanking, which I still don't think it is actually tanking. But in the aura of tanking, they usually draft a guy that doesn't fucking work out. Why? Because usually you got a team that's got a losing fucking culture. You got a front office that doesn't know how to build anything other than getting this one guy. That's what it is.
I don't understand why you're thinking that I think that tanking is like this good thing to do. No, tanking's the best of the shitty options. That's what
it's not an option, is what I'm telling you. It's not a legitimate option.
As you're rewarded for losing, tanking will always be an option.
It's not a legitimate option. It does not work. And if you are in a situation in which you found yourself doing it, then you've already fucked up.
Yes,
and what you're doing right then is on a hope and a prayer, hoping on luck that the guy that you picked up will change the entire course of history for your franchise. Because you're not going to be around long enough to see the fruits of your labor.
You're playing the odds. It's not hoping on luck. You're trying to get more, as the NBA calls it, more balls in the spinner. You're trying to get more darts to throw.
There are no winning organizations that will ever do it.
Well, the New England should have tanked this season. New England Patriots should have tanked this season.
And that's why you have Bill Belichick in the New England Patriots, regardless of whatever it is they have this year with the vacuum that's left out of Tom Brady. They will be back in the conversation next year when COVID's over and they can actually get all the defensive players that decide to sit this season out. What you're saying as far as they should have been tanking is horseshit, and Bill Belichick would smack the taste out of your goddamn mouth for even
Bill
thinking
Belichick
about it.
is prideful. That's just pride talking.
Who's the greatest? Who's the greatest coach in all
Bill
time?
Belichick is the greatest.
Who's the greatest coach of all time?
That doesn't mean he's right all the time.
He's more right than you, and he's more right than anybody else that decided to be tanking because it wouldn't be a legitimate
He'd
option.
still be wrong, right?
Is Andy Reid a pretty good coach?
Yes.
Would he ever consider tanking?
Yeah, and he was wrong too.
Yeah.
With what?
Who knows?
Huh?
Who knows?
What do you mean?
Look at the situation he's in.
No, with the
Andy
culture.
Reid fought for decades with clock management. Yeah.
Brother, I'm talking about when it comes to the front office culture of whether or not to tank or not. No great coach, no great GM, no great owner is ever going to make it a legitimate option.
Of course the head coach is
Ever.
going to have trouble tanking.
Mark Cuban just did.
Mark Cuban didn't tank. He quoted, but he didn't tank.
Do you remember what he said? You said it. You said no great owner would make it a legitimate option.
It
Mark
wasn't an
Cuban
option. He was
clearly
literally
said it was a
he was
legitimate
saying,
option.
and he didn't do it.
He
didn't
What did
do
he say?
it.
What's he
What
going
did
to
he say?
Investigated it. He didn't do it.
Is he going to tell Carlisle?
What did he say?
He said that because of the way that everything had worked out, I think this was in the aftermath of when Dirk was at, was when it was they were saying that what that is they needed to do was basically retool, and they knew that they weren't in a position to actually make a playoff run, so they needed to do what it is they could do to rebuild this, that, and the other. And I'm making a brief synopsis of what he said.
No, let me tell you the main part. He said that it's better to be trash, like terrible, than it is to be a mediocre team.
Mediocre is the worst you could ever be in sports. It's terrible. Mediocre, because that's what Washington has been.
Like the
it's
best,
so hard,
right?
Because you
so
never
like
get
where
a
you are
high
right
draft
now,
pick.
where you look, hey, look where you are right now. If you guys don't make the playoffs, it's terrible. That's the worst spot
because you
can
don't
be.
get a high
If
draft
you're not
pick.
going to make the playoffs, you might as well be number one overall.
And in the NBA,
paper.
you don't even want to just scrape by as a 7 or 8
On
seed.
paper, you do not want to be a middling team because high draft pick compares to this and the other. But here's where the good teams separate themselves from the bad teams. Is regardless of where you're at in draft position, you still know how to fucking draft. Some of the best guys are not in the top 3. You know how to build a squad around it, which is why I give teams like Washington this year credit. Antonio Gibson was not a first-round pick. He's coming up and he's performing. You got guys that you can find. You got guys that you can find throughout the draft that'll work out for you. Cameron Curl are starting strong safety. When you got guys like New England and everything, you do not have to be at the top dog of the pack.
Of course not. But
to do it.
You're talking across purposes.
But I'm even saying is you have an owner like Mark Cuban that might talk about it. Guess what he hasn't done? Done it.
He did not tank that season from what we know.
He didn't tank, period. And then he lucked out better than almost any organization in the history of basketball, going from Dirk Nowitzki to fucking Luka.
Yeah. Well,
fucking crazy. But he didn't tank to get either one of them.
I'm not saying tanking's the only way to be good.
Tanking
is not a thing to do, period.
It is
it doesn't work.
It's like all strategies. It's not perfect for every
Thank you. She's even agreeing with me. Tanking is not a
because she wants you to stop yelling.
No, you know why? No, you know why? Because she's a fucking athlete. She's an athlete.
That's not.
It's very different. So
she ain't no Poindexter asshole like you, Brendan, who's sitting there on the sidelines thinking it's a legitimate thing to do, and it's not.
Okay, let's be real here. In sports, it comes down to odds. You just reduce everything to odds.
You sound like a poor man's fucking Billy Bean. You sound like a dumb Billy Bean.
Got it. Billy Bean
He didn't tank. He never tanked.
No, because he couldn't. He would get fired if he got to.
No shit.
But other teams, Astros and Cubs, tank like motherfuckers.
The closest thing you're gonna get is the closest thing you're ever gonna get to me is Theo Epstein with the Cubs. But I think that there's a legitimate case to be made that they didn't legitimately tank as much as it was just a shitty roster. You're talking about in the aftermath. What years was this? What years was this?
What?
Early 2000s.
2010 to 2014. 2010 to 2014.
All right.
Huge vacuum in Chicago.
Segment's way too fucking long.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
the segment's way too long.
It down because it's.
You're about to host. She's about to cut us off.
Yeah. But
that's what I'm doing right now. So you're welcome.
Good job, James.
Yeah.
Good job. Okay. Right. Well, thank you.
At the end of the day, you both still don't agree. It is what it is.
I'm right. He's wrong, but it's all right.
Nothing will ever change.
Tanking is
and he feels opposite.
Yeah. Well, here's what I can do. here because I have the option to do it. Tanking is not a legitimate thing to do. He's full of shit.
Yes, it
and
is.
He's wrong. And if you decide that you want to come on this podcast and debate with me, bring your A game. This weak shit ain't cutting it.
See, you can't do that because now everybody's thinking that if you still don't agree at the end of it, you're just gonna mute and then just talk shit.
Here's the thing. I already also know that everybody that's on your list of people that already have an axe to grind with your boy right here. So I'm going to use whatever advantage that I can since they're coming in here with the heat from me. So let's go.
All right. Well, one of the other friends is on ESPN, so he can put you on Sports and saying, "Don't listen to this fucker."
Watch me be I'll be the Jason Whitlock that actually likes his own race.
That's still not a good thing.
No, it's terrible, right? But depending on the payday.
Still bad. Still bad. Okay.
Bye-bye, folks. Have a good rest of the podcast. Kadeen, you're still a dumbass.
And
right.
Kadeen lost.
Bullshit. All right. So, like, number one, that's horseshit. All right. Look, and I had to even, I let him get the last shot in after I muted him because I felt bad. And like I am dating his sister. But it's just what she side-eyed me. I know she
you just had to add that in. You didn't need to add that.
He started the entire thing off making that a big deal. It's fucking asshole.
But didn't you start it off by like giving background to him and then you threw that out there?
No. He started that.
I don't know about that.
Guys, you just watched it for yourself. James is just misremembering.
Everybody can make their own.
Misremembering.
Misremembering.
Everybody can make their own determinations on win or loss. Please comment below.
If you
wait.
If
Since
you want to be
there.
on the ASOS guest spot, hit us up. Whether it's in the YouTube comments, whether it's you find us on Twitter, whether or not you find us on IG, whether or not you find us on our personal pages. If you want to do a guest spot, if you have a topic that's important to you, and you want to debate against us, come on in. We welcome the shit. Even if, and hopefully this turns into something we're actually doing like interviews and stuff. Maybe one day we'll get to that level. But right now, we just want to kind of shoot the shit, barbershop type talk where you just argue about your shit. And nobody can beat me. So we just figure that out. We're just going to lay that out there right now.
All right. So, Ryan, do you think tanking is a viable option? Or is it real?
I'm going to go watch, and then I'll comment on the next one.
I like that.
Fine. Fair enough. All right. So, final thoughts, guys. K-Dot, you go first.
COVID's still real. Do whatever you need to do to protect yourself, protect your families. I know it's really, really hard right now.
I miss Christmas. Mad tough.
I know you miss Christmas. It sucks, man. Yeah. It's just, I think everybody just needs to make sure they're being on the P's and Q's. It's this COVID fatigue. You might think that you're doing something that's like not even that bad, but look, we all got to make sure we're doing our due diligence on this thing. We're too close to the end.
It's like drinking and driving. It only takes one time.
Only takes one time. If you've been this lucky this far, keep doing what you're doing. Like it's not. Don't give yourself a false sense of security or false sense of safety that you've got it figured out because you've been healthy this long. No, keep it up.
Mm-hmm. All right, Ryan, you go.
Oh, and fuck Trump as he goes out and he's fucking up the stimulus shit.
Arsenal beat Chelsea today 3-1. I'm not putting too much stock in it. We got some good football. We got football. We have basketball all day yesterday. We have 3 football games. Now, mind you, this first one is pretty shit. I don't know who the quarterback is because that is not Tom Brady running like that. Ooh.
Excuse me.
We have slate of 3 games tomorrow. The Whiff can clinch tomorrow. The Bills beat the shit out of the Patriots. I think it's just going to be a good day of football all around. So I'm pretty excited.
All right.
I just want the playoffs to start.
Oh, it's Gabbert. That's why. I was like, Tom Brady.
Blaine Gabbert's back.
I was about to say, Tom Brady hasn't moved that fast in 20 years.
Is Fournette playing?
No, he's off.
Damn it. All right. Well,
it's 40-7. Nobody's playing.
I want him to get some more points. It's still the third quarter. It's halfway through the third quarter.
I got DeAndre Swift in, and he's got like 2 points.
Usually this is not the time of the year where teams start throwing up this many points ever. It's usually we're getting more on the defensive side of things, but I guess everybody's been playing indoors the last 2 days. Because they played in New Orleans yesterday.
In Tampa, I think.
And they're playing in Detroit right now, right?
Tom Brady threw 5 touchdowns
Yep.
to 5 different receivers.
Oh, they just scored
They
again.
just scored again.
Wow.
Wow.
I wonder who caught that.
Wow. Well,
right.
Blaine Gabbert threw it.
Oh, damn.
Wait,
Man.
Blaine Gabbert. Sorry, the last touchdown was not Tom Brady throwing it. It was a Blaine Gabbert touchdown. So he's got 2 now. That's insane.
Well, I got Leonard Fournette on my bench, and it
Oh.
looks like he's got 14 fantasy points. So.
Blaine Gabbert to Evans.
No, Fournette has a rushing TD.
Ooh. So somebody was starting Alvin Kamara, of course, but the bad part is that was a 7th place game.
Oh no.
Don't knock on the 7th place game. I'm in a 7th place game.
I'm in the 1st place game right now, and I got
I
Fournette.
was 3rd
What
in
the
points
fuck?
and 1st points against, and I didn't make the playoffs.
This guy
Don't
has
laugh at me. Please don't laugh at me.
Tough.
Kamara, Antonio Brown, and the Tampa Bay defense.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
He's got 110 points with 4 players.
All right, James, you got your final thought?
Well, my final thought is I pray to God that my team does well in this fantasy league because I need this money.
How much is it?
Couple hundred. Like the last time I won, I ended up buying my fiance's engagement and wedding band with it.
Damn.
Oh,
Well, half of it, which is still a lot. So
The
Nice.
smoke just disappears.
it was like, I think I won like 1,200 last year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my first place, my big league is I think 2,500 at first place, but I'm so far out of first place. I'm looking for 3rd.
No, we
Yeah.
tried to do money 2 years ago, and when I won, they nixed it. So we don't want to give them money.
What you mean?
They didn't want. They then nixed.
They paid you, right?
Oh no, I got paid for that year, and then
Okay.
afterwards they were like, "We're not paying anymore because we don't want Canadian to have the money." So it was like, okay,
All right.
That's
fuck
fucked
y'all.
up.
And then I won the next year, and now this year they're wishing they did money again because I'm out of the playoffs.
That's
But
fucked up.
But the number 1 team is a juggernaut. He's not going to lose. And Yahoo drafted his team, which is making us all feel very inadequate right now.
Oh no.
He is absolutely dogging everyone. He's averaging like 100 on standard scoring, half a point PPR, single quarterbacks. He's averaging like 170 points. Like it's insane.
This is my team. Can you see it?
No.
Barely.
All right. Lamar Jackson, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen. I got Fournette starting. I got Jeff Wilson Jr. starting. Darren Waller, Ayuk. I had Michael Thomas, but he's on IR now.
I mean, Jeff Wilson Jr. is gonna rack up some points.
I hope he does.
2 thoughts. Number 1, I think people telling you who's on their fantasy team is akin to that dude at the party that has a video on YouTube that he wants you to watch,
Yeah.
and you're not really feeling it. I think there's
Oh.
that. And number
guys-
2,
You guys mad that you're not in the finals?
well,
I'm in the
number two-
finals.
number 2,
You are?
Yeah.
What's the record? I mean, what's the score? Are you slated to win?
I am currently not slated to win,
Oh
but
shit.
I have Justin Herbert, Allen, Hopkins, and Beasley. That's
Ooh,
150
all right.
points right there.
Who does he have?
He had Alvin Kamara, so let's.
Fuck. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Hey,
well,
I'm sorry.
you know,
I'm
the-
sorry.
the rest of his
I'm
team
sorry.
sucks.
I'm so sorry.
I got a chance.
all right, you completely
So,
interrupted my
Jesus
second
Christ.
thought, which is
Okay.
that the one thing
Death
I know
Star
above
goes
all
boom.
other things.
Yeah. If the
Don't
Raiders
step
win
on me.
tonight, if
Don't
the
step
Raiders win
don't step
tonight,
on my line.
if the
Don't
Raiders
step
win,
on my line. Thank you. The Death Star, it do go boom.